Welcome to Sculpture Studios. Rocks made from styrofoam or polystyrene are always a popular request, and this is for a shop window display. We've been contacted by Sarah Griffiths, the print production coordinator for Cotswold Outdoors. Cotswold is a clothing and equipment shop for outdoor activities like hiking and pioneering, and they wanted some rocks created to go into their windows for bits and pieces to be displayed on. For the many shops they have around the UK, they wanted a single set of rocks made to their specifications, and then they wanted this replicated so that identical sets can be distributed to all their stores. The images that we were sent were concept references, and it was up to us to adapt their pictures to fit the dimensions we were given. We begin by blocking out from polystyrene and using the hot wire table to cut the basic form. Nail and wire brushes are then used to take the material away. With Aden not doing the carving for this project, as you can see here, you can tell we've got a lot of work going on elsewhere in the studio, so it gives the rest of us a chance to brush up, or wire brush up, on our polystyrene carving. Each member of our team has their own specific set of skills that they tend to lean towards, but one of the good things about working here is we all have the ability to adapt and to slip into the different mindsets for whatever's needed for the job at the time. Whether that's poly carving, fiberglassing or artworking, or the occasional dance-off, we're all well versed into the many jobs required of us here at Sculpture Studios. Once the carving's complete, the shape is then sanded down to lose some of the rough polystyrene bead. As well as making the material look like chunks of rock that you might find outdoors, we needed to make sure the rocks had small flats on the top so that items could be placed on them for display. Once we're happy with the form, we set them up to take a couple of pictures to send to the client. This is important at this stage before we proceed with any rendering, so the client has a chance to make any changes. After all, this is the initial set that will determine the style of the rest of the rocks that are going to be copied from them. Any alterations can easily be made at this stage, as opposed to later on when we would have to alter anywhere between 10 and 40 sets of rocks. Once we've got approval from the client, we're going on here with a flexible concrete render, and we're applying it with a brush first of all to see how the material looks at different thicknesses. This thin layer will give the polystyrene a texture that has that rocky look and feel, and even though these aren't actually going to be touched, it just protects the polystyrene surface a little during transportation and handling. We've used a theatrical dry brush technique to hit the top of the rock with lighter greys, and we've emphasised the deeper sections with darker tones. We then use a PVA glue to apply the faux moss, and this starts off white but will eventually be clear once it's had time to dry. With approval now given and the go-ahead for the first batch of rocks to be made, we carve each set by hand, copying the prototype models. It's handy creating pieces of this size, as we can utilise other offcuts of polystyrene from the sets previously and clear our workspace. We never like wasting materials, so this is a prime time to make use of everything we have. To speed up production, we've called in a couple of extra hands, as we want to get this all done in time for the client. We always make sure we copy from the original shapes that we made at the start to save a compound error from occurring by simply copying the set we've just carved previously. Here are the first set of rocks, ready to be rendered. Oh, and here are a couple of sexy lady lamps. We're now spraying the concrete on using a hopper, and as this material is water based, it can be applied straight onto the polystyrene without the need for a protective layer. This also means that once the spraying is complete, all the pieces can be left outside to dry in the sun with the help of a nice breeze. This can take anywhere from half an hour to a couple of hours, depending on the temperature outside and the moisture in the air. Once everything is set, the rocks are then decorated in the same fashion as the first, and we set them up in our studio ready to be boxed. Though there needs to be a level of uniformity between one set to the next, there's also a level of leniency with this job. Due to the fact that each set of rocks will be distributed to a different store around the UK, apart from seeing them together in the video here, they'll never be sat next to each other once they're out in the public. Sarah's organised the collection of the rocks in this case. We measured each set and packed them into individual boxes and protected everything with bubble wrap. They were then picked up from our studio and delivered to their multiple shops located around the country. We'd like to thank Sarah Griffiths from Cotswold for coming to us for the work and for coming back to us to create each additional batch of rocks. Please feel free to leave any comments below, as they're always appreciated, and hit the subscribe button for our latest videos. You can like Sculpture Studios on Facebook, and for more of our work, visit sculpturestudios.co.uk. Thank you very much for watching.